Brian unclasped the gray plastic box and opened the lid. He carefully pulled out a Sony camcorder that had a sticker on the side boasting 2 terabytes of internal storage. He placed it on the cinder block shelves next to his bed and plugged it in. It took a few moments to start up before he adjusted its angle so he was in view of the camera. He took a deep breath and pressed record. Hey there, chat. Just making a new video for today. My parents, as you know, are raiders, and today they got a chance to go topside to get some things for the builders. They won't tell me what they went up for. They said it's best that they don't tell anyone, but they should be back soon. I wanted to make this video for you so you know what it's like when they're up there. A banging on the front door caused him to hesitate. One thing they say all the time is how fresh the air is and how many flowers there are everywhere. Since it's spring, I asked them to bring me... The banging on the door repeated, louder. Okay, fine, I'm coming, Brian shouted as he reached over to stop his recording. He carefully unplugged it, but left it sitting on the shelf as the person at the front door was banging constantly. What? Brian nearly shouted as he flung the front door open. Their door was one of the few that didn't squeak, thanks to his dad bringing back oil from topside. Dude, were you making a video again? Royer glared at him as he adjusted his hair pick. No, I was cleaning. Royer looked past him to the cluttered house. Yeah, you're a horrible liar. But I came to get you. The raiders' elevator started coming down. If we hurry, we'll catch them when the door opens. Got it, Brian said as he reached for his coat hanging by the door. There was a secret that only raiders knew about. When the elevator comes back, it brings fresh air directly from the surface. It smelled like heaven and always made Brian lightheaded. His coat was also something his parents had found for him topside, among the remains of civilization. They scurried down the narrow passageway, dodging others, weaving in and out of carts and people carrying baskets or pulling dollies stacked with plastic boxes. Apollo told my dad I have a knack for fixing things, Royer said. My dad asked if I want to be a mechanic. He's going to see if he can find me some tools today. That would be pretty dope, Brian said between breaths. Royer had been his best friend since childhood. Their dads worked together as raiders on the surface. That's why his house was cluttered with stuff. There wasn't much storage space in the tunnels. Lately, the runs that his parents had been doing were for specific items. The engineers were always creating things, and building materials were always in high demand. His father had found an electric motor once, and they ate like kings for a month. You ask your dad to get you anything this time? Royer asked. Nothing special. Batteries for my camera, Brian replied as they sped up to get in front of a horse-drawn cart. He loved to run, as did Royer. That's what raiders did for hours on the surface, and one day he'd be one, he hoped. The passageway ended, opening up to a paved road, busy with people and horses moving between housing areas. The LED lights here were brighter. Being as deep underground as they were, they didn't have an opportunity to let natural light in. You still thinking of making videos? There's nowhere to post them, man. Facebook and YouTube are dead with the dinosaurs. Yeah, but I can still make them, Brian muttered. They sprinted down the road towards Elevator Alley. There was only one elevator, but there were additional tunnels which led to other locations where the raiders went to gather resources. The drill team was currently working on 2 new tunnels. Did you hear if they finished the one tunnel yet? Brian asked. Nah, I haven't heard anything, Royer replied. Too bad we can't just ride the horses there. It'll only take a few days. Yeah, a few days to let the drones hunt us down, Brian added. You know we can't do that. I can dream, can't I? One day, man, one day. Those robots can't survive forever. They can't make babies. Royer laughed his high, chuckling laugh as they ran past the wall of 10-inch pipes that brought natural gas to the generators. It had been over 40 years since the engineers had repurposed the coal tunnels to house all the people, and a nearby natural gas deposit provided them a source of energy. The engineers said that they had over 800 years worth of gas. Maybe before then, they could figure out what to do with the ARC drones and take back the surface. You think that Control-Alt-Delete guy had any family? Royer mused. Sam Altman? Why do you care? Brian asked. I was just thinking, since he's the moron who had the bright idea to put AI into everything, which ruined the planet for us, that they should be the surface raiders for us, you know, like penance for their sins. I heard they bought an old missile silo and turned that into a home, but nobody knows where." They stopped talking as they stepped onto the railroad tracks, stepping on the railroad ties as they hurried along. A 4-horse team was returning from the North Tunnel, pulling a rail cart behind them. "I wonder what they were delivering," Brian pointed. "Looked like a heavy load. Probably metal parts and stuff. They always need that kind of stuff." "Makes sense," Brian said as they entered the welding grounds and slowed down. Dozens of men and women were hunched over various projects, sparks flying with bright flashes as the welding team fabricated arches and domes for new tunnel homes. They walked up the elevator ramp to the doorway where a few people were standing. A girl in trousers with a gray blouse and a white bow in her hair walked up to them. "Hey, Brian," Elise greeted them. "Hey, Ellie, your brother going up?" Brian replied. "Not today. He actually loaned his equipment to one of the new guys who went up. He's over there waiting for them to return." "Hey, kids, can you guys go wait over there?" the gatekeeper said. Royer frowned at her. "My dad is coming down. I'm fine right here." "We're okay," Brian added. "We do this all the time." The gatekeeper rolled her eyes. "If you get hurt, not my fault." Brian looked at Royer and Ellie, and together they all said, "She'll learn." The floor started vibrating, which meant the elevator was on the last approach and its brakes had engaged to slow it. A few moments later, a light thud shook the ground and the door started to rise. Brian instinctively stepped forward to get his first few breaths of "Medic!" A hoarse voice cried from out of the elevator. "Medic! Medic!" the gatekeeper screamed. A mad rush of 10 people charged past. Panic struck Brian as he almost rushed in with them to find his parents. He wanted to scream out for his mom and dad, but Ellie tugged on them both to get out of the way as more medical personnel arrived. "Gurney, we need all of them!" a paramedic inside called out. Brian leaned to try to see in, but there were so many people in there that no one was coming out. He was worried if he should go inside. A line of people pushing the gurneys rushed up the ramp and into the elevator. "No, not that one, he's dead," a voice said. "This one, he needs to get into surgery now." "This one, he can't walk." "She needs to lay down, her head is badly injured. Call ahead and tell the doctors." A paramedic rushed out, guiding the wheels of the gurney. "Dad!" Royer cried out. It was easy to pick Tyrell, Royer's dad, from the crowd with his afro, but something was wrong. He was clutching his left elbow, only his arm wasn't there, and it was all bloody and his shirt was stained red. "Dad!" Royer's voice rose 3 octaves. "Brian," Ellie pointed. He turned to see his dad being rolled out, his pants cut open, and the medical team working on the wounds on his leg. His mom was pushed out directly behind him, bloodied bandages covering her face and arms. Brian waited until the next 2 beds were pushed out before he started following them. The medical wing was near the elevators on the other side of the gas pipes. "Weren't there 30 that went up?" Ellie asked. "Shut it, Ellie," Royer snapped. Brian held his silence as they kept pace with the beds. The hospital staff rushed the wounded into surgery, leaving Brian to sit on a metal bench with Ellie as Royer paced back and forth. After a while, he sat down on the bench and leaned forward on his arms. About an hour later, a doctor came out, looking for relatives. He met with a lady who was the wife of one of the other wounded first. Brian felt his chest tighten, growing cold, as he watched the lady start crying before she thanked the doctor. He almost didn't want to talk to him. "You Tyrell's boy?" The doctor approached Royer. Brian nudged him to look up. He only nodded. "Your dad is okay, and he's going to live. He got hurt pretty bad, but he's a tough guy. From what I heard, he lost his arm and still helped the others get to the lift. He's going to need to rest for a while before I can let you talk to him." "Thank you." Royer's voice was almost a whisper. Brian put his arm around his friend. Being a raider was the most important job. It brought supplies in for the whole town. Not only that, it came with the perk that if you could carry it home, you could keep it. All raiders, after they filled their orders, would find something to bring home. He almost didn't hear the doctor call his name. Ellie poked him in the shoulder. "Brian?" Yes, that's me." "Both your parents are okay," the doctor stated. "They'll live?" Brian's voice squeaked with the fear he'd been feeling. Yes, the doctor smiled. They got hurt and need rest. You kids can come back tomorrow morning to see them. Brian nodded and pulled Royer to his feet. They said nothing until they got back to Royer's home. His mom met them at the door, her makeup running down her face with all the crying she'd done. She wrapped all of them up in a hug before sending Brian and Ellie on their way. I hope he's going to be okay, Ellie said. Yeah, Brian droned. Are you okay? Yeah, why not? My parents aren't dead, Brian replied. Deep down, he knew he wasn't okay. He looked up to his parents and had fierce pride that they were the only families where both the husband and wife were raiders. He'd seen the blood from their injuries. He couldn't unsee it, and it kept replaying in his mind over and over. Can I walk you home? Ellie asked. Yeah, Brian grunted. They walked the corridor slowly. The doctor gave you good news. Both your parents survived and only had some injuries, Ellie offered. Brian could only shrug. His mind was swimming with hundreds of different thoughts, and he was worried about money to buy food. He'd probably be forced to go work in the mines or on the farms. There were strict rules about what age someone could try out to be a raider. He was still 3 years away from turning 18. You can come over to my house for dinner tonight. I don't want you to be alone. Ellie touched his arm. He nodded. That was smart. Every raider family knew that the job was dangerous, and the community respected the sacrifice they made. They were all one big family here in these tunnels. Not like some of the other colonies that functioned like sewer rats. They would sometimes attack surface raiders and take their hard-earned loot. As they rounded the corner to Brian's house, they found 2 delivery men dropping off his parents' gear. Brian, hey, we thought you were still at the hospital. I'm very sorry about your parents, man, Seth said. Yeah, they're some of the best raiders we have. Sorry they got hurt, the other delivery man said. But they'll bounce back. They're tough. And we have the best doctors, Seth added. Brian gave them a polite smile. Thanks. He gestured to the backpacks and other items. We can just put them inside. He unlocked the door and placed them just inside. If you need anything, don't hesitate to come over, Seth offered, even if you just need to hang out. You're a fast runner. I could use your help with deliveries. Brian nodded. His thoughts were so jumbled he couldn't make a decision. They wished him well and gave him a pat on the shoulder before leaving. Ellie closed the door behind them and clasped her hands together to wait. Brian stared at the packs for a long moment. They were still smeared with blood. He blinked his spiraling thoughts away for a moment and went to his room to get the camera. The batteries would only hold enough charge for a few minutes, but he wanted to do something. He retrieved it from his room and turned it on. If any of you want to know what it's like to be a raider, the behind the scenes, then I need to show you this. Brian, what are you doing? Ellie asked. People should know what it's like being a raider. They hear stories, but this is the hard truth. You want them to see this? They won't let me into the hospital, so I want to show them this. That's my parents' blood. It looks like they got hit by a wasp that sprayed them with bullets. They barely made it to the elevator. Hold it up for me, Brian pointed. Ellie hesitated before picking up his father's backpack and slowly turning it. There's 2 holes here, Ellie pointed. It looks like they were doing an amazing job dodging and running. Your parents are 2 of the fastest runners. Brian stepped closer and zoomed in the picture on the camera to the bullet holes. Ellie held up the other pack, showing the blood all over the shoulder straps. He could barely hold the camera steady. The images of his mother's heavily bandaged head covered in blood flashed through his mind. Come on, you're not staying here tonight. Ellie took the camera from him as its battery died. She placed it back in his room as he stood in the same spot, fighting against the tears and sobs. Ellie came back and wrapped him up in a hug, caressing his back. They're going to be okay. They're alive and recovering in the hospital. Both your parents are tough, and they'll make it through, she said gently. Brian couldn't hold his emotions back anymore as he struggled to be tough like his parents. He let himself cry as Ellie held him. Brian had followed Ellie to her home like a golden retriever. Her parents greeted him warmly and held him in a group hug for a few minutes. Ellie's brothers then pulled him over to the table, and all sat next to him. They didn't ask any questions. They knew what it was like. They joined hands, and Ellie's dad offered a prayer, thanking God that Brian's parents and Royer's father had made it back. "You can have your usual bed," Ellie's mom said as she passed around the dinner rolls. "Thank you, ma'am," Brian replied as he glanced to the corner where his brother's gear was usually stored. It was empty. "Matt, your gear?" Matt kept his head lowered. "Still topside." "How many went up? Do any of you know?" 28, Matt said. No one said anything. 7 had made it down the elevator, but only 5 had survived. The president of the Raiders group announced no topside excursions for the next 7 days, Matt added. "They've already started an inquiry. An investigator came by and talked to me. I told him I'd loaned my gear to the new guy." Brian felt a weight fall upon his shoulders. 7 days? They needed constant supplies. Wires, metal, plastic, oil, and chemicals. Work would come to a stop. Electricity could stop. They'd be stuck using candles again, like when he was a little kid. "We can't let them do that," Brian stated, gripping his fork. "My parents told me all the time that being a raider was risky, the most dangerous job in the world. But they did it out of choice. They knew how important their job was, and they did it out of love. We can't let the drones win." He looked across the table at Ellie as she nodded. He glanced at Matt, who also gave his consent. "This sucks, but I'm not afraid," Brian said. Brian woke on the couch, hearing a distant alarm going off. He'd spent many nights with Ellie's family over the years when his parents went to the surface for long raids. Her brothers were like his brothers, and he blended in perfectly with them. He got up, folded the sheets and blanket, and put them away in their drawer. Ellie's mom came out into the kitchen area, and he joined her to make breakfast. A few minutes later, the rest of the family came out, and they ate together. "I'd like to come to the hospital with you," Matt said. "Your dad was my trainer." "Me too," Ellie added. "You're welcome to come," Brian replied. "I'm sorry you lost your gear." Matt waved it away. It's replaceable. I couldn't sleep last night. I was thinking about all those lost raiders." "Yes," Ellie's father said. "I've been thinking we should go visit them today. They're going to need a lot of support." "I'll go with you, Dad," Matt said, "right after I get back from the hospital." Brian listened to them make plans about helping others. His thoughts were still jumbled, and his emotions felt like they were being put through a washing machine. He wanted to see his parents above all. He showered and changed and waited at the door while Matt and Ellie quickly changed and they left. He led them on a walk, not wanting to do any running to cause him to sweat. He wanted to be presentable to his parents.